This is the Holy Ghost. Come on in. We're glad you stopped by. And here we go. Oh, yes. Good morning, good evening, or afternoon, depending on what part of the globe you're on and what time zone you are in. This is the Biblical History Skeptics Podcast, coming at you live and in living color. My first taste of Moscato for over a month. I'll tell you what. Hola. Not sayonara, that's goodbye. Greetings, salutations. Buongiorno. Why, I tell you what. Ukraine is lighting them up. Hot damn. Yikes. I'm telling you what, today's not a good day to be Vladimir Putin. Failure after failure after failure after failure. One defeat after another, one fucked up decision after another. I mean, he just can't win for losing, can he? So the latest development is a bomb truck took out the bridge just as... So, I don't know if you know anything about the Crimean Bridge. It's basically a bridge that attaches Russian proper to Crimea, which is Ukraine. I think Vladimir took that in 2014, 2015. I think I got my dates wrong, but yeah, so somebody decided to take out the bridge. So what they did was they had a bomb on a truck, which there was there's a rail car, a railway next to the bridge. So you've got traffic incoming, inbound, outbound, and then you've got your railway system. They set that bomb off just as the fuel cars were coming by, literally lit up the night sky. I mean, you could see it for miles. And I think the Russian government originally said, oh, a fuel truck caught fire. But I'm like, I saw the explosion. I saw the videos of the explosion. I'm sorry, that was not a fuel truck. That just somebody took a cigarette and oops. That was a bomb. Either that or there were theories going around, ballistic missile. But I'm like, yeah, it's not enough damage for it to have been a missile. But someone brought up drone boats. They actually have boats that are remote controlled that you can use to set off a bomb. And I'm like, well, that's possible, but not enough damage. It would have been under the bridge, not on the bridge itself. So it has been confirmed it was a truck bomb, which makes more sense. And I'm like, okay. And for all we know, Ukraine proper, the government, I don't think they've taken responsibility for it. They didn't take credit for that. Unless... Let me see if I can pull it up. I want to get the latest Russian bridge bomb. Putin calls the attack on a key bridge to Crimea a terrorist attack. Yeah, nice. Ukraine, USA Today, Crimean bridge explosion damages Russia lifeline. Explosion on 12-mile Crimea bridge. A 12-mile bridge. Wow. Blast on bridge to Crimea hurts Russian supply lines. No shit. Russian bridge destroyed by, this is a YouTube. I don't want YouTube. Truck bomb. This was as of yesterday. 5 hours. Okay, this is NPR. They're usually okay. Putin calls terrorist attack, blah, blah, blah. Don't care. I'm having the time of my life. Okay. Zaporizhzhia, Ukraine. Russia President Vladimir Putin on Sunday called the attack on the sprawling Kerch Bridge to Crimea a terrorist act carried out by Ukrainian special services. And Russia's investigative chief immediately opened a criminal terror investigation into the explosion that damaged a prominent Russian landmark. Interesting. This annexed Moscow 8 years ago. Yeah, that would be 2014. Yeah, okay. So Vladimir Putin could have attacked Crimea as far back as 2013, actually. So they still don't know. There's no doubt it was a terrorist act directed at the destruction of critically important civilian infrastructure of the Russian Federation. And the authors, perpetrators, and those who ordered it are the special services of Ukraine. Okay. But what has Ukraine said? Come on, tell me. We've already established the route of the truck. The statement followed overnight Russian missile strikes on the city of... Yeah, the Russian missiles on a residential neighborhood. And they have the audacity, the gall, to complain about terrorism. Fuck you. Russian setbacks, blah, blah, blah. Ukraine forces, recent fighting, blah, 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 blah. They will answer. The one who gave this order to everyone who carried out this order, they will answer. Yeah, good luck with that. Ukrainian Foreign Minister Dmytro Kuleba called the attacks on civilians a war crime and urged an internal investigation. Yeah, part of me is thinking this is not a military strike. If it had been a military strike, I think there would have been a lot more damage, and they wouldn't have left it up to a bomb going off. I mean, that's not precise enough. Anything could go wrong. So it 13 killed, 60 wounded. At least 10 of them are children. That's not good. And then, so in retaliation, Russia sends a bunch of missiles in a residential neighborhood. Yeah, how many kids has Russia killed, I wonder, or Vladimir Putin? Okay, so Vlad opened the Kerch Bridge in 2018. So, all right, 2015, I think is the date that they took over Crimea. You would have thought that would have caused an international stir. Oops. What is going on? Let me go back. Yeah, if you missed anything, you can always rewind. Just rewind, go back. Just YouTube will let you do that. And then play it at high speed until you catch up. That's how I do it. If I miss an opening of an important show. Yeah, they need to damage those Russian supply lines. That's the problem. Well, I mean, it is a terrorist act. I know it is an act of war, but when you target civilians, that's when you start getting into war crimes. Which is why I on it Zelensky has run a clean war so far. He has done very well in making sure that Russian civilians in Ukraine areas are not targeted. So that's why I automatically thought, "Oh, this can't be. This can't be. They must have." Give me a second. Let me get over to YouTube if it'll let me. It took everybody's wrench, huh? Give me a second. Come on now. Yeah, it's not even showing me that I'm live. Hello, I'm live. Go to channel. Give me 1 minute. Nobody has wrenches. That is ridiculous. One second. Oh, hold on a minute. Okay, so if you have any links now that, okay, we should be okay now. So if you have any links you want to share, you should be able to share anyway. Yeah, the thing about yeah, I mean, if it's shown that I mean, there were people on that road as that bomb went off. You could see video footage of cars. There weren't very many, thankfully, but honestly, when is a good time to blow up a bridge like that? So I don't know if it's there really isn't any good time. But yeah, this has been good. So far, Zelensky has been running a clean war. He's been playing it by the book because he knows that in order to keep the international community on his side, he has to literally play this with a handicap. I mean, literally, if we let the Ukrainians just have at it, they could have blown. They would be in Russia right now if we just said, "Yeah, do whatever you want." They would be in Russia right now. I have no doubt in my mind. Though Ukraine is pissed right the fuck off. They are pissed off. Enough of them are pissed off enough. They're up to the point where they do not care if they commit war crimes. Although they understand they have to be held back, and they're not happy, but they understand the reason why. They've got to keep the international community. Also, as well, they just got approved to join NATO. That is huge. They've just, now that they're going to be fast tracked into NATO, they're going to have NATO protection now. So Vladimir Putin is going to have to make some tough decisions in the coming months ahead. Normally, NATO does not allow another country to join who's at war because they do not want whatever conflict is happening to spill into NATO. Okay. They don't want that to spill over. And because once you attack a NATO country, you've attacked all of them. That's the deal. That is the deal of NATO protection. And so, but because this is a special case, because there is going to be NATO has figured out finally that there's going to be, at no time will Russia not be in conflict with Ukraine. So with this in mind, they've decided we're going to have to give special, and they know Ukraine is the breadbasket of Europe. a lot of wheat, a lot of grain comes from Ukraine. Could that be one of the reasons why Vladimir Putin wants it? A lot of natural resources come out of Ukraine. Yeah, get NATO in here. Well, that's probably going to happen. Once the ink is dry on the finalization of NATO membership, Vladimir Putin's going to have to make some decisions. Does he want to take this to all of NATO? Yeah, what's beyond embarrassing. This is a travesty, and the Russian people are going to get the brunt of it. That's why they're fleeing. Just recently, Vladimir Putin conscripted 300,000 into the military. 300,000. We don't even know what. I mean, I can't even fathom. All 300,000 have defected, have just gone over into another country. They have literally left. The latest 300,000 that were conscripted ended up leaking out of the country. And I know that the Russian people are under a dictator. I realize, yeah, over 50 years old. Some of them are sick. Some of them are just in poor health. They're just sending everybody they can to the meat grinder. They don't give a damn anymore. They're sending prisoners over there. They are literally scraping the bottom of the barrel. The Russian military they're like congregants of different fiefdoms at this point. They are so disorganized. The Russian military that is in Ukraine, they're literally on their own. They have no supplies. They weren't even well equipped. I mean, look at the tanks they have. Rusted right over within a few weeks of them being used. None of their military equipment was kept up, maintained. I mean, there was somebody posted a video of a rusted out AK-47 that they were issued that they have to use in battle. I mean, it's unbelievable. And Russia it's going to be a cold, harsh winter. Russia has yet to feel the full brunt of the sanctions that we've placed on that country. And there are more coming. There are more coming. I understand Russia's under a dictatorship, but my God, maybe it would have behooved them to speak out more, to fight a little harder, because now it's affecting them. I'm trying not to have any sympathy or empathy for Russia. I mean, at this point, I want it all reserved for Ukraine. I don't have a unlimited supply of sympathy. Ukraine has been under the gun for decades. They've been shit on going back over 100 years. I have heard stories of that. A video of soldiers being told to get supplies off of dead soldiers. How in the world are you going to maintain morale and discipline if you're telling your new recruits, by the way, we don't have any supplies to give you, but don't worry, just get your supplies off of the dead soldiers? Unfucking real. I mean, come the fuck on. How in the world? Goodness God. That doesn't surprise me. They're doing it now. Unbelievable. But this is what happens. This is what happens when you allow dictators to come into power. This is what happens. And I have to wonder about Russian orthodoxy. I wonder how that's going to fare. The Russian Orthodox Church is going to do just fine. And the reason I know they're going to do just fine because they normally do. I mean, Catholic Church did all right, didn't they? Use tampons to fill the wounds because they don't have bandages and proper supplies. There you go. There you go. Happy fighting for the motherland. How sad. Well, anyway, away we go. Oh, let's move on. Don't Now this just came out. This was just released. This is Andrew Seidel, who is the lawyer for the FFRF, Freedom from Religion Foundation. Basically, he's the one they go to. He's one of the lawyers they go to fight Christian encroachment into government and civil government. This is his latest book, American Crusade: How the Supreme Court is Weaponizing Religious Freedom. This is his latest book. Just came in the mail today. I love same day shipping. Now, his other book we've been going through, we're halfway through the book. This is The Founding Myth: Why Christian Nationalism is Un-American by Andrew Seidel. I've been reading that on my personal channel, my personal Brian G channel. So let's see. We're on chapter 17. Wow. We're going to get through it. Chapter 17 now. We still need to I've got to get working on that book. I wanted to read through that book on my channel. And then as soon as I finish that one, I'm going to start on this one because I think it's vitally important that we get the whole truth out as far as Christian nationalism and how it is poisoning everything. Let's see. Let's see if it'll let me. There we go. Let's see this YouTube video before we completely. By the way, the link is in the description of the show. So if you want to order the book yourself, please go there. Scavenge for first aid kits. They don't even have enough for a fucking first aid kit. Look in cars to see if there's any first aid kits. What cars are you looking in? Obviously not Russian. Bring travel mats, bring duffel bags. You've already been given a uniform, any armor. You're on your own after that. Ask your wives, girlfriends, and mothers to send you pads. The cheapest ones, plus the cheapest tampons. Wow. They've been using tampons since Chechnya. Jesus Christ. Oh, this is the Late Show with Stephen Colbert. I'd love to play this clip, but I'd get hit with a copyright strike. Putin's draft is going as badly as his war. Let's see what else. Wow. Amazing. Yeah, it's just wow. You're on your own, guys. Boy, this war is going even worse. But they've been badly supplied for many, many, many years due to corruption, due to people not telling the truth. Yeah, it's not going good for Russia. Russia is, I mean, they don't even care about their own people. Why would they care about how they treat other people that they fight? They don't care about civilians. These people are civilians themselves and they have been treated horribly. So yeah, but yeah, I'd love to play this I can't think of the name. Come on now. The late show with Stephen Colbert. Hmm. But yeah, it's not going good because they've been they've been fleeing. They're fleeing. I'm telling you what, there were tickets going as high as 10,000, 15,000 a piece one way to get out of Russia. That is how bad these people want. That's how bad these people want out. They want nothing to do with this war. They're not as brainwashed as people think. You know, but this is it. Yeah, would be nice. Anyway, let's do this. Let's read some laments. Let's read some, oh, I don't know, Lamentations. Let's do that. Let's read some scripture. Boy, you could really, Lamentations. We should, yeah, this is, you could substitute this for, oh, I don't know, the Russians. Whew, my God. All right, let's do share screen. Lamentations chapter 3. Great is your faithfulness. Faithfulness, you've been a faithful dick, that's for sure. Yeah, Yahweh, the Vladimir Putin of the Old Testament, that would be Yahweh. Incompetent, can't seem to do anything right. Even your own people don't want to serve you. What does that tell you? They don't want anything to do with you. I am the man who has seen affliction. You know what? Let me make it bigger. There we go. Under the rod of his wrath. That could be read in a couple ways. He has driven and brought me into the darkness without any light. Surely against me he turns his hand again and again the whole day long. He has made my flesh and my skin waste away. He has broken my bones. He has besieged and enveloped me. With bitterness and tribulation, he has made me dwell in darkness like the dead of long ago. He has walled me about so that I cannot escape. He has made my chains heavy. Though I call and cry for help, he shuts out my prayer. He has blocked my way with blocks of stone. He has made my paths crooked. He is a bear lying in wait for me, a lion in hiding. He turned aside my steps and tore me in pieces. Oh, sounds like a nice guy. He has made me desolate. He bent his bow and set me as a target for his arrow. He drove into my kidneys the arrows of his quiver. I have become the laughingstock of all peoples, the object of their taunts all day long. He has filled me with bitterness. He has sated me with wormwood. He made my teeth grind on gravel. He made me cower in ashes. My soul is bereft of peace. I have forgotten what happiness is. So I say, my endurance has perished, so has my hope from the Lord. Remember my affliction and my wanderings, the wormwood and the gall. My soul continually remembers it and is bowed down within me. But this I call to mind, and therefore I have hope. This steadfast love of the Lord never ceases. His mercies never come to an end. They are new every morning. Great is your faithfulness. My goodness. I think whoever's writing this is bipolar or very traumatized. The Lord is my portion, says my soul. Therefore, I will hope in him. The Lord is good to those who wait for him, to the soul who seeks him. It is good that one should wait quietly for the salvation of the Lord. It is good for a man that he bear the yoke of his youth. Let him sit alone in silence when it is laid on him. Let him put his mouth in the dust. There may yet be hope. Let him give his cheek to the ones who strikes, and let him be filled with insults. For the Lord will not cast off forever, but though he cause grief, he will have compassion according to the abundance of his steadfast love. For he does not afflict from his heart or grieve the children of men, to crush underfoot all the prisoners of the earth, to deny a man justice in the presence of the Most High, to subvert a man in his lawsuit. The Lord does not approve. Who has spoken and it came to pass? Unless the Lord had commanded it, it is not from the mouth of the Most High that good and bad come. Why should a living man complain a man about the punishments of his sin? Let us test and examine our ways and return to the Lord. Let us lift up our hearts and hands to God in heaven. We have transgressed and rebelled, and you have not forgiven. You have wrapped yourself with anger and pursued us, killing without pity. You have wrapped yourself with a cloud so that no prayer can pass through. You have made us scum and garbage among the peoples. All our enemies open their mouths against us. Panic and pitfall have come upon us. Devastation and destruction. My eyes flow with rivers of tears because of the destruction of the daughter of my people. My eyes will flow without ceasing, without respite, until the Lord from heaven looks down and sees. My eyes cause me grief at the fate of all the daughters of my city. I have been hunted like a bird by those who were my enemies without cause. They flung me alive into the pit and cast stones on me. Water closed over my head. I said, I am lost. I called on your name, O Lord, from the depths of the pit. You have heard my plea. Do not close your ear to my cry for help. You came near when I called on you. You said, do not fear. You have taken up my cause, O Lord. You have redeemed my life. You have seen the wrong done to me, O Lord. Judge my cause. You have seen all their vengeance, all their plots against me. You have heard their taunts, O Lord, all their plots against me. Their lips and thoughts of my assailants are against me all the day long. Behold, their sitting and their arising. I am the object of their taunts. You will repay them, O Lord, according to the work of their hands. You will give them dullness of heart. Your curse will be on them. You will pursue them in anger and destroy them from under your heavens, O Lord. Whew. Number 4. The rod of wrath. Yeah. Ooh, yeah. Anyway. The rod of correction. Yee. The holy stones lie scattered. How the gold has grown dim, how the pure gold is changed. The holy stones lie scattered at the head of every street. The precious sons of Zion, worth their weight in fine gold, how they are regarded as earthen pots, the work of the potter's hands. Even jackals offer the breast, they nurse their young, but the daughter of my people have become cruel, like the ostriches in the wilderness. The tongue of the nursing infant sticks to the roof of its mouth for thirst. The children beg for food, but no one gives to them. Those who once feasted on delicacies perish in the streets. Those who are brought up in purple embrace ash heaps. For the chastisement of the daughter of my people has been greater than the punishment of Sodom, which was overthrown in a moment, and no hand were wrung for her. Her princes were purer than snow, whiter than milk. Their bodies were more ruddy than coral. The beauty of their form was like sapphire. Now their face is blacker than soot. They are not recognized in the streets. Their skin has shriveled on their bones. It has become dry as wood. Happier were the victims of the sword than the victims of hunger, who wasted away, pierced by lack of the fruits of the field. The hands of the compassionate women have boiled their own children. They became their food during the destruction of the daughters of my people. The Lord gave full vent to his wrath. He poured out his hot anger and kindled a fire in Zion that consumed its foundations. The kings of the earth did not believe, nor any of the inhabitants of the world, that foe or enemy could enter the gates of Jerusalem. This was for the sins of her prophets and the iniquities of her priests who shed in the midst of the blood of the righteous. They wandered blind through the streets. They were so defiled with blood that no one was able to touch their garments. Away, unclean, people cried at them. Away, away, do not touch. So they became fugitives and wanderers. People said among the nations, they shall stay with us no longer. The Lord himself has scattered them. He will regard them no more. No honor was shown to the priests, nor favor to the elders. Our eyes failed, even watching vainly for help. In our watching, we watched for a nation which could not save. They dogged our steps so that we could not walk in our streets. Our end drew near. Our days were numbered, for our end had come. Our pursuers were swifter than the eagles in the heavens. They chased us on the mountains. They lay in wait for us in the wilderness. The breath of our nostrils, the Lord's anointed, was captured in their pits, of whom we said, under his shadow we shall live among the nations. Rejoice and be glad, O daughter of Edom, or who dwell in the land of Uz. But to you also the cup shall pass. They shall become drunk and strip yourself bare. The punishment of your iniquities, O daughter of Zion, is accomplished. He will keep you in exile no longer. But your iniquity, O daughter of Edom, he will punish. He will uncover your sins. Oof. Okay, thankfully this is a short chapter. Restore us to yourself, O Lord. Doesn't sound like somebody I want to be restored to. Remember, O Lord, what has befallen us. Look and see our disgrace. Well, how in the world why would you ask God to remember what he caused himself? Remember, all of these judgments, according to you, are because of God's judgment, right? Why would he have to remember? Is he prone to forgetfulness for something he caused himself? Our inheritance has been turned over to strangers, our homes to foreigners. We have become orphans, fatherless. Our mothers are like widows. We must pay for the water we drink. The wood we get must be bought. Our pursuers are at our necks. We are weary. We are given no rest. We have given the land. We have given the hand to Egypt and to Assyria to get bread enough. Our fathers sinned and are no more, and we bear their iniquities. So you're getting help from Egypt and Assyria. They're actually helping you. How in the world is that possible? Interesting. Slaves rule over us. There is none to deliver us from their hand. We get our bread at the peril of our lives because of the sword in the wilderness. Our skin is hot as an oven with the burning heat of famine. Women are raped in Zion, young women in the towns of Judah. Princes are hung up by their hands. No respect is shown to the elders. Young men are compelled to grind at the mill, and boys stagger under the loads of wood. The old men have left the city gate, the young men their music. The joy of our hearts has ceased. Our dancing has been turned to mourning. The crown has fallen from our head. Woe to us, for we have sinned. For this our heart has become sick, for these things are ours. Our eyes have grown dim. Mount Zion, which lies desolate, jackals prowl over it. But you, O Lord, reign forever. Your throne endures to all generations. Why do you forget us forever? Why do you forsake us for so many days? Restore us to yourself, O Lord, that we may be restored. Renew our days as of old, unless you have utterly rejected us and you remain exceedingly angry with us. Boy, that gets you excited about serving the Lord, doesn't it? You don't do everything he says. He sends you to be destroyed. One last chapter, and then we're going to Ezekiel. So next week we'll do Lamentations number 5. That's it. Ezekiel's next. Interesting. Ezekiel is going to be a mind trip. Ezekiel is going to have a lot of... It's like the book of Revelation. I don't know if you've read the book of Revelation, but there's going to be a lot of metaphor. There's going to be a lot of wild stuff in there. Why do I attract sexual deviants to the channel? I don't know. But anyway, yeah, stacks of wood. The wood must be... Jode, good to see you. Yeah, this passage is very unclean. Yes. All of the Bible, you could say, is unclean. Looks like I'm going to be joined by the family dog. Anyway, time to save some truth. Yep. We're going to save some truth. How about we do that? Boom. And I need another ice cube. I'll be right back. Send rocks across the pavement, hoping it will cave and swallow me whole. Wonder why my mind keeps on spinning. This is where I live, into me what you told. Why am I like this? Something's always amiss. Can't put my finger on it, but it's there. Wait for it to subside, but my mind won't apply. Waiting for the clear. Is it bad sometimes? I like it when I lose control. There's something in it that's so beautiful. Okay, we're back. Sorry, I need another ice ball. We're going to open up another bottle, Peach Moscato. Oh, that's good. It blends right in. It's the Holy Ghost wine. Here, is that better? Goodness gracious. Oh, good heavens. Yeah, I cannot read this book completely stone sober. I've got to have a little something. Peach Moscato. Here we go. If I remember correctly, this is a new flavor. Let me try this. Not bad. I think I like the pineapple better, but peach is not bad. That's why I made a orange flavored ice ball. There we go. Let's save some truth. Yeah, here we go. Let's do Chapter 9, The Sun Through the Fog, Clarity's Hope. Oh my God. Wow, there isn't really much left. Can we do this all in one night? It's just that much. I don't know if you can see that. Not very many pages. I'm going to read as much as I can before everybody starts getting home. My clock stopped. Did you know that it's almost 3 in the afternoon? If you didn't know that, you do now. Yeah, that battery died big time. Wonder when did that happen? I wonder. It doesn't matter. Okay, let's get into it. The sun through the fog. He spells sun S-O-N. We know what, wink, wink, we know what he's talking about. The sun. Get it? Oh, this book is exhausting. What other religious book would you like me to read? I should have asked this before. What should be my next book? I don't know if the personal library here is kind of, well, anyway. I'll look through my library, and if I don't see anything, I'll see if I can get something from the library. The sun through the fog, clarity's hope. Hope. It's the feeling or desire that things will work out for the best. We use it to express sentiments both mundane, I hope the coffee shop is still open because I really could use a latte, and profound. I hope that my marriage doesn't fail. In either case, mundane or profound, we hope for things to work out because we are uncertain that they will. Has anybody ever had that thought? I hope my marriage doesn't fail. I don't know if that thought has ever crossed my mind. What a weird hope. Anything but Boyd? Why not? Stephen A. Boyd. Let's do that book again. We never did finish it. The Crucifixion of a Warrior God. Making sense of Old Testament violence. Oh God. I must have thrown that book 4 times, I swear. Here we go. Let me just concentrate. In other words, we often hope because we are unsure. We further weaken our grip on hope by celebrating confusion as virtuous while decrying clarity as sinful. Our grasp can be strengthened if we reorient our wistful gaze from the foggy unsure to the clear. The controversial issues of our day act like fault lines that erode the bedrock of clarity. Controversy is made up of 2 Latin words, contra, meaning against or versus, and verte, meaning to turn, or vertere. Controversies arise quite literally when we turn against something or someone. I know where he's going. We think of controversies most often as a public debate over opposing views. And indeed, controversy has flourished in our day when autonomy is the ultimate goal. See, autonomy autonomy is the enemy. Did you not know this? Autonomy is to be feared. Autonomy gives rise to controversy. Yeah, when our individual autonomies collide, the inevitable result will be to turn against each other. Our compound word autonomy leads to another controversy. Well, no, not necessarily. If I have a mutual respect of your autonomy and you have a mutual respect of my autonomy, then we're okay. Right? There's no confusion, there's no controversy as long as my autonomy does not impugn onto yours, does not supersede yours or conflict with yours. That's how autonomy works. But of course, these people, I mean, this guy, Abdu Murray, obviously doesn't get that. But controversies' deepest fissures aren't public, they're private, they roil within each of us. One may champion unrestrained freedom, yet subconsciously recognize that true freedom must be bound by truth. A person may want to define her own sexual or gender identity, only to find that fulfillment remains elusive. Well, yeah, it's elusive when right wing Christian nationalists like yourself stand in the way. Yes, it is elusive. We try to limit our worldview to what science can measure. No, you don't. If you are a Christian, most likely you do not adhere to science. What is the catchphrase? Science has its limits, therefore, and we can't accept all of science, right? Don't they say that? Or they'll never admit it. We try to limit our worldview to what science, yeah, whatever. But then stare at the horizon wondering if there's more to life than this mortal coil. Well, if there is more to life than this mortal coil, meaning an afterlife, if that's what you're alluding to, please show proof or citation of that. We're still waiting. Our preferences have not given us the sure footing of clarity's dry land, only the wobbling buoyancy of confusion's river. These internal controversies, not the public ones, make the gospel's simple clarity appealing yet difficult to embrace. And the gospel really is simple. It is the good news that you and I are sinners in need of a savior, and Jesus is the savior. Because he is perfect, you don't have to be. He will perfect you. Because of what God has done in the past, we can have faith in what he will do in our futures. Secular hope is uncertain. Biblical hope is sure. Okay. Biblical hope is sure. Yeah, hope in fairy tales and hope in what has not been shown to be true. Yeah, there are plenty of people who are hoping to one day achieve an afterlife. I've said this multiple times. I would rather embrace a cold, hard truth than embrace a warm, comforting lie. Because in the end, that lie that you accept will affect the way you live your life. It'll affect the way you treat others around you. It'll affect everything. And yes, I do accept the statement, religion poisons everything. Look around you. If you cannot see the truth in that statement, it is more so true today than it was when it was first made. Thank you, new subscribers. Christopher Hitchens made that statement, and he could not have been more right. We see religion poisoning every facet of life now. Religion has encroached on just about every facet of life. Women have lost their body autonomy in several states. Anti-abortion bills, anti-trans bills have come up to where it is illegal. It is going to be illegal to be trans. And in some Bible Belt states, they literally, in order to play on a sports team, they have to do a genital check on you. How sick can this be? In order to participate in women's sports, you have to you have to subject yourself to a genital check. What kind of what madness is this? These internal controversies. Okay, I've said that. Can something so simple be all encompassing? Is it too good to be true? How can one idea, indeed one person, Jesus, clarify our culture's confusion and bring us to clarity that we need? The world is too big for any worldview, isn't it? Indeed, to say that the gospel is simple yet all encompassing seems contradictory, but it isn't. In fact, it's our fragmentation of life that's too small to handle this world. We see no overarching simple idea that connects all our fragmented views. Well, why would you want that? Some views should be discarded. Some views we don't need to be connected to. We don't need, for instance, I don't care for fascism. Fascism has taken over multiple countries in Europe in the last 10 years. I don't want to be connected with fascism. I don't want to be reconciled. I don't want an all-encompassing worldview to connect my worldview with that. We see where fascism leads to. Anybody who's cracked open a history book could tell you that. We don't all need to be connected. There are some ideas that can be discarded because they don't work. We've seen them and we've seen the destruction they bring. Yeah, it's called learning from history. We're so obsessed over the freedom to do what we want that we've neglected the freedom to do what we should. Who has? To wrap our minds around what it means to be human, we've focused narrowly on brain chemistry. Well, I can tell you this, fundamentalist Christians do that. The fundamentalist Christian believes that they can do anything they want. And that includes harassing people that work at a library. That means shutting down libraries. That means banning books that they deem as heretical. Yeah, the shit is happening. That's happening today. Teachers are being harassed and threatened just for being teachers. They're being called groomers. These fascist nut jobs that turned up at board meetings, that turned up at school board meetings, threatening the teachers, saying, "You'd better not force my child to wear a mask." They don't even have any children, number one. Number two, they don't even have any kids that go to the school that they showed up to. Yes, this is what fundamentalist Christianity leads to. Brain rot. When someone believes that they are above the law, that they don't need to adhere to edicts of the law, it is better to obey God rather than men. Remember that scripture verse? Remember that? It's better to obey God rather than men. So the voice in your head, when you believe that voice is God, there is nothing you will not do. There's literally nothing holding you back. For you believe you are under the edict. You are under command of this God to do whatever it tells you to do. There is no end of evil that you're capable of at that point. When you are convinced, number one, you're in the right, and number two, what you believe is sanctioned by God. This in turn leads us to contradictorily conclude that with regard to sexual and gender identity, we're born that way, but should be allowed to explore as many sexual or gender expressions as we want. We give lip service to respecting all religions only to turn against a particular religion if it doesn't line up with our irreligious autonomy. Of course, life is complicated, and yes, we need nuanced answers to life's questions. Well, Christians don't believe they need nuanced answers. Christians believe they have all the answers. And Abdu Murray, the author of this book, definitely thinks he has all the answers. A stained glass window is complex too, but the outer frame that holds its intricate pieces together is usually a simple square or circle. We must embrace this paradox to find clarity. The comprehensive answers to life's complicated questions emanate from one straightforward worldview. Chesterton brilliantly summarized the ineffability of this paradox. A man is not really convinced of a philosophic theory when he finds that something proves it. Chesterton writes, he is only really convinced when he finds that everything proves it. And the more converging reasons he finds pointing to this conviction, the more bewildered he is if asked suddenly to sum them up. We must become convinced that one worldview, a simple idea, offers hope because it corrals all of life's complexities. No, it doesn't. Your worldview does not. It doesn't. Oh, my goodness. But the inverse is also true. We can be convinced of something when we find that it proves everything else. The gospel says we are not automatons slavishly responding to external stimuli, but are beings with physical bodies, non-material minds, and free will. This substantiates humanism. The gospel tells us that our sexual and gender identities are not our ultimate identities. Well, who said they were? This satisfies our desire for intimacy. The gospel embraces scientific inquiry. No, it doesn't. No, it doesn't. There is not a word in the gospel or all four gospels that even suggest that scientific inquiry is a means to investigate the natural world because that investigation satisfies our God-given sense of wonder. No. I have read the Gospels thoroughly. There is not a verse that would even back up this ridiculous, stupid assertion. The gospel allows us the dignity of differing on matters of faith. No, it doesn't. No, it does not. You either believe or you're damned. That's the gospel in a nutshell. Either believe and have everlasting life or not believe and be cast into everlasting fire, torment. That's it. Those are your choices. There is no sense of wonder. There's no wonder about it at all. There's no question. This addresses our desire for coherence. Life's innumerable complexities are marshaled under one clarity. We are made in God's image. The cross and the empty tomb demonstrate how valuable that image is. Obviously, this author has not read the epistles of the Apostle Paul. The Apostle Paul did not think very highly of this God-given image. Unbelievable. And he gets away with this. Unchallenged at all. In short, everything proves the gospel and the gospel proves everything. No, it doesn't. With such clarity, our fingers wrap tighter around a sure hope of a better future. This may seem an audacious claim in light of Christendom's historical black eyes. Okay. While Christianity's abuse has brought hate's darkness, its pure form has brought hope's light. The atheist philosopher and former Italian Senator Marcello Pera agrees. If we live as Christians, we will be wiser and more aware of the dangers we face. No, you won't. We will not separate morality from truth. Yes, you will. Yes, we look at the last 10 years and tell me this is false. Tell me there's any truth to this statement. We will not confuse moral autonomy with any free choice. This is not an atheist philosopher speaking. I'm sorry. This is a very confused individual. We will not treat individuals, whether the unborn or the dying, as things. We will not allow all desires to be transformed into rights. We will not confine reason within the boundaries of science. We will not confine reason within the boundaries of science. Yeah, let's get rid of science. Why don't we? Why let's just get rid of science altogether. Nor will we feel alone in a society of strangers or oppressed by the state that appropriates us because we no longer know how to guide ourselves. Yeah, I have no idea. An atheist philosopher. Yeah, no atheist wrote that. I'm sorry. Yes, worldviews other than Christianity have contributed positively to society. Thank you. Full stop. We should stop right there. Yes, other worldviews have contributed to positively to society. So maybe Christianity is not exclusive to positives, right? Does the author admit that? No, he doesn't. But Marcelo Pera isn't saying that Christianity just contributes positively to our hope. He's saying that it is the foundation of our hope. Last section. From Russia with hope. Oh my fucking god. What? Okay, let's move on. I was at an event during which a secular humanist physician challenged the idea that the gospel uniquely brings hope. Well, there's no challenge. It's a statement of fact. There are multiple belief systems where people derive their hope. I mean, come on. The good of humanity, he protested, is all that we need for us to find hope for the future. We don't need God or the gospel, just each other. Well, I don't see anything wrong there. He went so far as to claim that atheists are often better than religious people in light of how many have died at the religious hands. Yeah, this is true. This is true. Think of all the people who died from the Black Plague because religious leaders were sure that the Black Plague was caused by demons or whatnot and could be prayed away. Think of the the insanity that religion has caused. But he's going to deflect. Watch this. He's going to bring up Mao from China. They love to do this. When it was pointed out to him that multiple millions more have died under atheistic regimes like Stalin's Russia and Mao's China, he refused to accept that atheism had anything to do with it. That's communism, he said. None of that was done in the name of atheism. To brush off Stalin and Mao's murderous atrocities as communism's fault ignores the role that Stalin and Mao's atheism played in establishing their communist regimes. Karl Marx, the godfather of communism, saw belief in God as the opiate of the people that kept humanity numb to the schemes of the powerful. That is true. Keeps people ignorant too. That's why a colleague of mine had to smuggle Bibles under the Iron Curtain in the 1980s. When it came to a Soviet controlled border, the guards would ask him three questions. Are you bringing guns? Are you bringing drugs? Are you bringing Bibles? Communist regimes are not incidentally atheistic. They are foundationally atheistic. Atheism is woven into communism as theism is to Christianity. Well, first of all, anybody who's read Karl Marx knows that Stalin did not have any basis whatsoever to establish the fascism regime that he established. Remember, there were multiple factions of communism at play, vying for power. You had black Russians, white Russians, red Russians, green, and I forgot the fourth one. But the red Russians won out. They won the day. All right. These were different factions in Russia that were trying to get control. And it came to the point where the person with the most guns wins. But reading Das Kapital, I would question, has this guy ever even read Das Kapital? anything on Karl Marx. There's nothing in Karl Marx that suggests that what Stalin did, or Mao for that reason, should have been done. I just don't see it. And yes, I will say, you know what? I will give you that. They were both atheists. They didn't worship a god or gods. Fine. We'll give you that. But he never brings up Hitler. Hitler, first of all, was, if you read his writings, he gave many. I mean, yeah, he was a Christian nationalist. I mean, he literally said, we are establishing a Christian nation. I mean, he burned communistic writings. People who say, "Oh, well, Hitler was an atheist." No, he wasn't. Actually, in fact, he thought communism was a threat to his country. All communistic thought was burned. All of the book burnings under the Nazi regime, and also he didn't like Charles Darwin, The Theory of Evolution. Those books were burned as well. What are you going to do with that? What do you do with that information? Yet amid, let's continue. I gotta finish this. We're never gonna finish. Yet amid long breadlines, an anemic economy, and the brooding scowl of government dominance, hope endured in the Soviet Union. Okay. The wellspring for its endurances was the gospel message itself. How's the gospel message doing in Russia today? How is it doing? You've got the Russian Orthodox Church literally putting its hand of blessing on Vladimir Putin. How did that work? How is it working right now? It's been 12 years since this book has been written. How has it aged? This book has aged like moldy cheese. I'm telling you what. If this were a tweet, I would love to bring it back. I'd love to bring it back. Okay. The wellspring of its endurance was the gospel message itself. A husband and wife from Belarus taught me that at a recent backyard party. As our children played together in our nearby pool, the husband asked me for my kids' names. When I told him that my youngest child is named Nadia, he was surprised to learn that Nadia is a common name for Arabs as well as Eastern Europeans. The Russian version, he told me, was Nadyazhda, which means hope. He went on to say that the three most popular girls' names, even during the Soviet Union, was Vera, which means faith, Nadyazhda, which means hope, and Lubov, which means love. Okay. So what? It was my turn to be surprised. In the purposefully atheistic Soviet Union, the people expressed their heart's cry through the name of their children: faith, hope, and love. How poetic that God inspired the Apostle Paul to string those three words together as the pearls of life's God-giving meaning. And now those three remain: faith, hope, and love. 1 Corinthians 13:13. Like millions who lived under communist regimes, Paul was no stranger to experiencing material want and suffering religious oppression. Yet faith, hope, and love bolstered his endurance. An entire generation of Russians who endured Stalin and the hardships of failed communism literally beat the names faith, hope, and love. The sun shines through the fog, giving us the light to find our own hope in the post-truth culture of confusion. Like the Soviet Union, the culture of confusion will not last forever. Clarity will eventually return, but it won't happen just by the passage of time. Clarity will return most fully when we see the gospel for what it is and see Jesus for who he is. I've seen clarity return in individual lives right before my eyes. During a 3-day speaking trip, an intelligent young man engaged with me on some thorny issues. He came to every event during those 3 days, each time asking poignant questions. And his final questions summed up the pathos behind all of his previous questions. Why would God create human beings he knew would sin and then send them to hell for eternity? Doesn't that seem inconsistent with a belief that God is all good? His question was a moral one, which meant that he would have to assume the existence of an objective moral values for his question to make sense. Notice the wordplay they like to engage in. They like to twist things. Well, you have to have objective morals for even your own question to make sense. It's like, okay, so what? First of all, your God isn't objective at all. The belief in your God, the belief in the morals of Christianity are not objective at all. They're at the whims of a celestial dictator. Anything he says goes and subject to change at a moment's notice. I'm not assuming anything. I'm asking you who I'm asking you, who does believe in objective morality, to be consistent. Should I be consistent? I asked. Of course. He said, why? I asked. If there aren't objective moral values, then I can either lie in my answer to you or I can blurt out meaningless words and sounds like you're doing now. The answer would be just as meaningful or meaningless either way. Well, no. No, it doesn't. No, it wouldn't. And I wouldn't have done anything morally wrong. But you just said I should be consistent. If I should, then you actually do believe I have a moral obligation to tell the truth. Who's being inconsistent here? He saw where I was going and had a response. No, I'm not saying you should be consistent because it's morally good. I'm saying you should be consistent because truth helps us to survive and flourish as a species. But that isn't the case within an evolutionary worldview. Again, an evolutionary worldview, first of all, an evolutionary worldview does not exist. It does not exist. Evolution is a fact, just like gravity is a fact. I do not have a gravitational worldview. Okay? I do not have a scientism worldview on how things are. They just are or they aren't. Oh my God, this guy, this poor young man, this guy got away with murder. And unfortunately, they like to pick on the young because they know somebody who's had this conversation, they know how to obliterate it. All right, let's move on. Truth is irrelevant in survivability and flourishing. Why would truth be irrelevant? Truth can mean your survival. We could just as easily survive or flourish by believing something false. Kind of. It depends. It depends on what you're talking about. For instance, if I believe that there's so let's go back to the cavemen days. There could be a tiger in that bush waiting for me. I don't know. I'm going to go the other way. And I lived to see another day. Was there a tiger in that bush? I don't know. Maybe there wasn't a tiger there. But my being alert keeps me on my toes, so that way I'm always scanning. I'm always looking to see where my next threat is going to be. And I only have to survive long enough to pass my genes on. I only have to survive long enough to reproduce. Okay? That was early man's plight. Now, you want to talk about inconsistent, you want to talk about absolutely barbarous. Imagine early man living in groups, living off the land, just on the brink of extinction, on the brink of starvation at all times. That is what early man's existence was. They had no concept of what we're going through today. Okay? What kind of a psycho god would allow that to be our existence? Always in fear, always wondering when the next attack is going to come. Imagine that sort of existence. The young man said he was an atheist, but studies show that religious people tend to live longer and happier lives than irreligious. No, that actually has been fact checked. People who have connections, people who have groups, flourish. Notice how he says religious. He doesn't say Christian, because the study that he's relying on doesn't parse out the different religions. Why is that? Because it looks better if you just lump them all together this time. Lump them all together and show, oh, people who are religious tend to happen to live longer. No, people who have a support group live longer. Yes, this is true. And it just so happened to be that when this study was conducted, the majority of people who had support groups happened to be religious. Does that mean religious is beneficial as a whole? No, it just means those who had support groups and groups that they relied on, strong friendships, they lasted longer, they lived longer. So I asked him, if there is no God, should we still believe in him because doing so is good for the species? First of all, believing in a God does not give us. The belief in God does not, it doesn't give us, it doesn't give us good. We're not better off because we believe in a God. Again, it's the support group and structure and community. That's the difference. He was hard pressed to say yes because he was caught in a conundrum. No, this is 2010, and he didn't have a fact checker with him that he could just pull out and say, "You're kind of full of shit, and here's why." Just like Ben Shapiro, they always go after the young and uneducated, or they're educated enough to carry on a conversation. This is why they pick on college students. He had a love of logic and a strong moral compass despite denying it. He could escape the conundrum only by saying that morality is an escapable part of a world filled with meaning and coherence. The answer to his question provides a key to unlocking hope's door. Why would God create beings he knew would die, rejecting him and be consigned to hell? For the skeptic and the Christian alike, that question is not merely intellectual, it's personal because it involves human suffering. One way to approach the answer is to see that we aren't meant to be puppets dancing on God's marionettes. Well, yeah, you have to. You literally have to be. You literally have to be. In order to believe in Christianity, you have to consign yourself to be a puppet. You have to. There's no other way to do it. You cannot have a skeptical, inquisitive mind and still be a Christian. That relationship entails the freedom to embrace or reject God. That intended purpose, true relationship, turns the question on its head. For the Christian, the question really isn't why would God create people knowing that their rejection might hurt them. The question is, why would God create free people knowing that their rejection would hurt him? First of all, God is impervious to hurt. He is all knowing, he's the end all be all, according to your worldview. Why would he be hurt? How could you hurt God? Come on now. Let's unpack that a bit. First, God doesn't need us to have a relationship. Actually, yes, he does. He created us in order for that to be the case. As a triune being, God exists with three distinct personalities: Father, Son, Holy Spirit. He has always had perfect relationship. This means that he creates us not so that he can have a relationship, but so that we can. What? Second, relationship happens only when at least two parties exercise their wills to make it happen. We are imperfect creatures, which means that we will express our wills imperfectly. In other words, we will have an imperfect relationship with God that could include rejecting Him. Thus, creation was always going to include the risk that some of us would reject God. Okay, what's your point? Third, we often think of that rejection's consequences as one sided. Well, yeah, it is kind of one sided. We reject God and we suffer for it, but that ignores a fundamental truth. Our rejection affects God as well. Oh my. Oh, God would be rejected and he is affected as well. He's hurt. Oh no. Oh, why isn't someone thinking of Yahweh? Why isn't someone thinking of him? What about his feelings, huh? To God, we are immeasurably valuable. Yeah, we're valuable. Okay. All right. Whether we embrace or reject him. Precious is the sight of the Lord is the death of his precious in the sight of the Lord is the death of his saints. In the Bible, Psalms 116, verse 15. Well, if it's so precious, maybe he loves to see his saints die. If it's precious, right? Or am I taking that out of context? Ezekiel 33:11. I have no pleasure in the death of the wicked. No, Ezekiel 33, verse 11 has been contradicted multiple times, where God expresses pleasure in the death of those who are wicked, who reject him. He will laugh at their calamity. I will laugh at their calamity and when their derision comes. Does that sound like somebody who's hurt because he was rejected? For those of you who don't know, I am reading Saving Truth, Finding Meaning and Clarity in a Post-Truth World by Abdu Murray. Believe me when I say this, it is as painful to me as it is to you hearing it. Call me God. This is hurting me more than it's hurting you. Oh, sorry for putting you through this hell of listening to this. But this is what we do. We critique the Christian worldview on this channel. We have to. We have to know what they think in order to refute what they think. If we keep in our own bubble, we're never going to know what they're thinking. And that's very bad because, well, we see it. Christian nationalism is slowly but surely taking over. And it needs to be pushed back against each and every time we get a chance. Oh, let's move on. God doesn't pick whom he loves. Actually, the Calvinists would disagree, which means that the pain of rejection is not probable, it is inevitable. We object to the way God created the world out of concern for the pain we might feel. We forget about the pain that God will feel. Oh, won't somebody, this is like somebody saying, won't somebody think of the billionaires? If we tax billionaires, oh my goodness, if we start taxing them and making them pay their fair share, who's thinking of them, huh? Who's thinking of Yahweh? Who's thinking of the God of the Old Testament? Won't someone consider his feelings? If we go to heaven, the pain of our lives will be wiped away. Oh, great. But God, no matter how many are in heaven with him, will eternally remember and perhaps eternally grieve the loss of those who chose not to spend eternity with him. His pain over our rejection is as eternal as he is. Oh, this poor, poor God, this poor deity. Why spend so much time on this one question here? Because the answer clarifies God's selfless character. And that selfless character crystallizes our hope. There is nothing selfless about Yahweh. He is constantly needing affirmation. He is constantly needing worship. And if you don't worship him in a certain way, at a certain time, in a certain position, in a certain whatever, with a certain sacrifice, he will judge you and condemn you. He is the ultimate he is the Donald Trump of the Old Testament. Yahweh is the most unlikable character in all of literature. Yeah. If any one of us behaved the way Yahweh behaved, we would be thrown in jail for the rest of our lives. It's just, oh my goodness. Oh, I love this. Oh, perfect. When we enter into a marriage or even just a friendship, there is always the possibility that one of us will reject the other, leaving at least one person wounded. We try to guard against such wounds by choosing whom we let into our lives. Sometimes we do wisely, sometimes unwisely, but we still have the opportunity to shield ourselves from rejection's sting. Hold on a minute. If you are comparing marriage and friendship to a relationship with God, I'm sorry, the metaphor doesn't work. It doesn't work at all. It is a one-sided friendship or marriage because the person, let's bring in God into this equation. We have a friendship with God. It's only one way. It's his way or the highway. That's not a friendship. You cannot be friends with a celestial dictator who will throw you into an everlasting fire to be tortured for all eternity. Anybody who has that power, you cannot befriend. You cannot truly be on equal terms. Likewise, in a marriage, I don't know what his view of marriage is, but holy shit. You cannot equate that with a relationship with the God of the Old Testament or even the New Testament. The last section. Let's get through this. I'm going to plow through this. From freedom to truth, from truth to clarity. As we close, let's return to Jesus' statement in John 8. You will know the truth, and the truth will set you free. There can be no freedom without truth. There can only be chaotic autonomy. Jesus goes one step further and identifies himself with the truth. If the Son sets you free, you will be free indeed. If that's a pretty big if. That's a pretty big if, don't you think? There can only be chaotic autonomy. Jesus goes one step further and identifies himself with the truth. If the Son sets you free, you will be free indeed. The Son of God, the Son is the truth that leads to our freedom. Ravi Zacharias and I presented those ideas during an open forum at Yale. Was that before or after Ravi Zacharias was found to be guilty of sexual assault and sex crimes? Oh, that was before. Also, don't forget, this piece of shit was Ravi Zacharias's number 2 man. He was the guy who was in charge of the entire organization. I'm sorry, you cannot tell me that this man did not know Ravi Zacharias was engaged in this shit. And anybody who's been listening or paying attention to the Ravi Zacharias saga, it has been one of extreme shock, shall we say. Ravi Zacharias owned multiple I don't know how to describe this, but he owned massage parlors, the ones that give you a happy ending if you pay extra. Yeah. He loved to frequent these massage parlors. Yeah. And he would sexually assault the workers there. He would force them to perform certain sexual acts. The Ravi Zacharias Foundation did an internal investigation and found these claims to be true. Yeah. There's your clarity for you, Abdu Murray. There's your leader. Good for you. I'm sure the Holy Spirit was warning you the entire time. Anyway, I need to get off that and move on. Blah, 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 blah. The answer is that Jesus' historically verifiable resurrection vindicates his claim that his death pays the debt we've incurred for our sins. Jesus, as God the Son incarnate, paid the immeasurable price for us. If something's value is determined by its price, then Jesus' payment demonstrates that each one of us, you, me, are immeasurably valuable. Yeah, tell that to the Aztecs who never heard a single word of this. Never heard of it. Yeah, Ravi Zacharias. I'll put it in the chat. Yeah, I remember listening to him on the radio when I was a kid. I hope I spelled Zacharias right. That sounds look. Ravi Zacharias. Yeah, he was the go-to. He was the smart. He was the fundamentalist Christians' smart go-to source. He would give lectures. Turns out half of his life that he claimed to have lived was a complete lie. He claimed to have all of this education and it was all a lie, and we was challenged on it. You started to see him start. He would wipe his web address, his hub. You would see, his website would say, oh, he has this degree, this degree, this degree, this degree. And then when he was challenged on it, he would go back and wipe it away. He'd be like, so most of his educational degrees were more honorary. They were not actual degrees. I mean, there's a whole saga. In fact, there's a channel that is literally dedicated to investigating Ravi Zacharias while he was alive. I can't remember the name offhand. All right, take care, surgeon. We're almost done. We're almost done. We're almost done. Let me just skip through these portions. 2,000 years later, our post-truth culture of confusion has elevated personal preference over truth. The musical group Crash Parallel captures the spiraling hopelessness that comes from filling our lives with things that are neither true nor personal, like Christianity. But let's move on. Here's a song. Crash Parallel. What the hell? Who listens to that? Anybody else know the group Cash Parallel? Well, sleepless nights and endless days, and miniskirts and serving trays, waking up from rain delays, and selling sex for pocket change, and living off the alcohol with no one but a cab to call, and lost inside a bathroom stall, this carbon copy life withdrawal, and driving cars we can't afford, just making sure we're never bored, living off our own accord between coffee grinds and corner stores, and limousine and cigarettes and chasing dreams with fishing nets, and long weekends without regrets. Well, no one here is taking bets. And I need someone to believe in. Yes, someone to fill the space with grace. Someone to look into my eyes and touch my face to make me feel alive today. Someone to make me strong. Someone to make me belong. Someone to make it all right. Someone to make me feel alive. Besides lacking in lyric, I cannot believe I'm doing this, but I'm going to look up this group and see if I can pull up their music video, if they have a performance. Crash Parallel. Rain delays? I don't know. Oh my God, he doesn't even give the rain delays. Okay, song by Crash Parallel. Oh, it actually has a Vivo. I don't know if I should even play this. It's got a music video. "2009." Okay. Anyway, I'm not going to even go through the entire song. Who cares? We don't need something to make us alive. We need someone. And Christ's truth and personal feelings converge. Both are important. In our zeal for our autonomy, we've fallen into confusion by elevating personal feelings above truth. But we have to be careful not to succumb to the equally confused idea that cold hard facts alone will liberate us. Truth has to be personal if it's to touch our minds and hearts. There are facts that are important for certain pursuits, but they are limited in their importance. Water boils at sea level at 100 degrees centigrade. That's helpful to know if one is a chemist, and it might come in handy if one is cooking pasta. But I doubt that water's boiling point will help us fall back asleep when life's anxieties stalk our minds late at night. While truth isn't determined by personal preference or need, it becomes relevant when it fulfills our legitimate needs. As Clifford Williams so astutely puts, need without reason is blind, but reason without need is sterile. Reason without need is sterile. Okay, that sounds like a quote mine that makes absolutely no sense to what we're talking about. I'm almost done, folks. In Jesus Christ, we have the truth who satisfies our quest, the personality who satisfies our need for connection. He is the truth our minds seek and the person our hearts embrace. He validates facts. No, he doesn't, and our personal preferences without sacrificing either. His words expose the fact of our sin. The fact of his sacrifice demonstrates his unbound love for us. Well, first of all, there was no sacrifice. If he can't be killed, if he can't be destroyed, there really is no sacrifice. God sacrificed nothing. Sorry. There's no sacrifice at all. A post-truth culture that elevates feelings over facts gives us only half the picture, like Christianity does. And in being half right, it's all wrong. It offers us only the flowing river, not the steady land. 2,000 years ago, blah, 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 more metaphors, yet were fulfilled, blah, 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 more metaphors. Jesus is the river and the land, the fount of living water, yeah, blah, blah. He secures humanity's freedom. No, he doesn't. When we realize that confusion dissipates like fog and clarity remains, what is truth? We may ask in a world that elevates personal preferences over truth. The answer is Jesus, the truth, who is personal. He is the saving truth, Jesus Christ. I finally got through this book. I didn't think I was going to make it through it. I honestly did not think I was finally going to end this book. Wow. What a brain drain. That's it. Saving truth. We're done. Woo! We're done with that. Wow. Thank you so much. Thank you so much for bearing with me going through that. Normally, we try to keep our videos under an hour, but I was not going to make that carry on for a second week. I'm going to see what other book I can scrounge up, but for now, we're done with Saving Truth. And I am convinced more than ever that there is no truth in Christianity, and it offers no hope. This is what you end up with in Christianity is a Trump administration. This is what happens when you believe things by faith and not by reason. This is what you end up with. Hey, maybe Donald Trump, he's not a politician. Maybe he'll be okay. Maybe he'll do well. This is what happens. We have a runaway Supreme Court who is just it is absolute asinine. We have a religious extremist fundamentalist runaway Supreme Court. This is what happens when you decide to, hey, let's give fundamentalist Christianity a try. Call it what you will. With that, I will say goodnight. Thank you so much for joining us at the Biblical History Skeptics podcast. We will see you all next week. Take care, everybody.
Sitting throwing rocks across the pavement, hoping it'll cave and swallow me whole. Wondering why my mind keeps on spinning. This is where I live. Listen to me, what you told.
And with that, I say good night.
I am my light. Something's always up. This can't put my finger on it, but it's there. Wait, won't hit this upside, but my mind won't up. Waiting for the clear. Is it bad sometimes?